The Provincial Rebellions, Regional Autonomy versus Central Authority. The Crisis Administrator. In the emergency coordination chambers of Tenochtitlan's Imperial Administrative Center, where urgent reports documented simultaneous rebellions across 3 distant provinces and sophisticated crisis management required balancing military intervention with political negotiation, Tlacaelel Tlazohtlaloni, the most experienced provincial administrator in imperial service, coordinated comprehensive responses to territorial instability while understanding that authentic imperial authority required not merely military suppression but systematic administrative reform that could address underlying causes of regional dissatisfaction, balance local autonomy with central control, and maintain territorial stability, serving both imperial unity and provincial welfare through careful attention to economic grievances, cultural sensitivities, and political accommodation. The morning crisis briefing revealed coordinated rebellions in the Huaxtec coastal territories, the mountainous Mixtec regions, and several Tlacaelel border communities, whose simultaneous uprising suggested either remarkable coincidence or deliberate coordination among traditionally independent resistance movements challenging imperial authority through systematic defiance of tribute obligations and administrative directives. Intelligence reports indicate coordinated timing among the 3 regional rebellions with synchronized cessation of tribute deliveries, coordinated attacks on imperial installations, and similar propaganda emphasizing regional autonomy and cultural preservation, Tlacaelel announced to the Emergency Administrative Council during the crisis coordination session. However, the specific grievances and tactical approaches vary significantly between regions, suggesting adaptation of shared resistance strategy to local circumstances rather than centralized revolutionary planning. This intelligence analysis reflected the sophisticated political challenges facing imperial territorial administration, where regional rebellions required understanding both common patterns of resistance and specific local circumstances that motivated territorial defiance against central authority. The tribute system analysis required systematic evaluation of economic pressures, administrative burdens, and regional capacity limitations that contributed to provincial dissatisfaction, while identifying potential modifications that could address legitimate grievances without compromising imperial revenue requirements or territorial control. Current tribute assessments in rebellious territories include Huaxtec cotton quotas increased 40% over previous levels. Mixtec gold delivery requirements doubled following recent mine discoveries, and Tlacaelel military service obligations expanded to include frontier garrison duty, reported Yautl, the tribute analyst who maintained comprehensive records of regional obligation levels and compliance patterns. This economic analysis revealed systematic patterns of increased imperial demands that had exceeded regional capacity to comply, while creating conditions that encouraged coordinated resistance among territories facing similar administrative pressures and economic challenges. The military response coordination required balancing immediate tactical requirements for suppressing active rebellion with longer-term strategic considerations about sustainable territorial control and the political implications of military intervention for ongoing imperial legitimacy and regional relationships. Current military deployment options include immediate suppression campaigns, utilizing available garrison forces, coordinated multi-front operations requiring substantial troop redeployment from frontier positions, or strategic negotiation combined with selective military pressure targeting specific rebellion leadership, analyzed Tlacaelel, the military coordinator who specialized in territorial security operations and rebellion suppression strategies. This military assessment demonstrated the complex trade-offs between immediate force projection and sustainable territorial administration, while revealing resource constraints that limited military options and encouraged consideration of diplomatic alternatives to pure military solutions. The political negotiation alternatives involved developing frameworks for addressing legitimate regional grievances while maintaining essential imperial authority and territorial control through strategic accommodations that could reduce rebellion incentives without encouraging further territorial defiance or administrative fragmentation. Political negotiation possibilities include tribute reduction packages, acknowledging regional economic limitations, administrative autonomy agreements preserving local customs while maintaining imperial authority, and cultural recognition programs demonstrating respect for regional identity within imperial political frameworks. Outlined Tlacaelel, the diplomatic coordinator who specialized in territorial political relationships and regional accommodation strategies. These diplomatic approaches provided alternatives to military suppression while requiring careful calibration to avoid appearing weak or encouraging additional territorial challenges to imperial authority through excessive accommodation of rebellion demands and regional autonomy claims. The economic impact assessment required evaluating the financial consequences of territorial rebellion for imperial revenue systems, administrative costs, and military expenditures while calculating optimal strategies for minimizing economic disruption and maintaining fiscal stability during extended territorial instability. Economic analysis indicates rebellious territories contribute approximately 25% of total imperial tribute revenue, with disruptions threatening fiscal capacity for military operations, administrative salaries, and infrastructure maintenance, calculated Milentica, the economic coordinator who maintained financial projections and resource allocation planning for imperial operations and territorial administration. This financial analysis revealed the substantial economic stakes involved in territorial rebellion, while demonstrating the fiscal pressures that encouraged rapid resolution of political conflicts through either successful military suppression or negotiated accommodation of regional demands. The administrative reform development involved systematic evaluation of imperial governance structures, tribute systems, and regional administration procedures that could be modified to address underlying sources of territorial dissatisfaction while maintaining effective central control and imperial authority over diverse territorial populations. Administrative reform options include decentralized tribute collection, enabling regional adjustment based on local economic conditions, enhanced local autonomy arrangements preserving cultural practices while maintaining imperial political authority, and improved communication systems ensuring regional concerns receive appropriate imperial attention. Detailed Itzpapalotl, the reform coordinator who specialized in imperial governance improvement and territorial administration optimization. These reform initiatives provided systematic approaches to addressing rebellion causes while requiring careful implementation to maintain imperial authority and territorial control through improved administrative responsiveness and regional political accommodation. The regional intelligence gathering required coordinating information collection about rebellion leadership, popular support levels, external assistance possibilities, and internal territorial dynamics that affected rebellion sustainability and potential negotiation opportunities or military intervention prospects. Regional intelligence indicates rebellion leadership includes traditional noble families opposing imperial administrative interference, merchant communities resisting increased tribute burdens, and cultural preservation advocates challenging imperial religious and social policies, reported Nakali, the intelligence coordinator who managed information gathering operations supporting territorial administration and rebellion response planning. This intelligence provided essential insights into rebellion composition and motivation, while enabling targeted responses addressing specific leadership concerns and popular grievances, rather than applying uniform suppression strategies regardless of local circumstances and political dynamics. The cultural sensitivity coordination involved understanding regional traditions, religious practices, and social customs that influenced territorial political attitudes, while developing strategies that could accommodate cultural diversity within imperial political frameworks without compromising essential administrative authority. Cultural analysis reveals that Huaxtec rebellion incorporates traditional autonomy claims based on coastal identity and trade relationships. Mixtec resistance emphasizes highland cultural preservation and political independence traditions, and Tlacaelel defiance reflects frontier military culture and historical resistance to central authority. Analyzed Tlacaelel, the cultural specialist who maintained expertise in regional identity patterns and their implications for imperial territorial administration. This cultural intelligence enabled targeted political approaches, addressing specific regional concerns, while demonstrating respect for local traditions and identities within broader imperial political frameworks that maintained central authority and territorial unity. The communication strategy development required crafting messages that could address legitimate regional concerns while maintaining imperial authority and encouraging territorial compliance through appropriate combinations of political accommodation, economic incentives, and credible deterrent capabilities. Communication strategies include acknowledgement of regional economic hardships and administrative responsiveness to legitimate concerns, demonstration of imperial commitment to territorial welfare and cultural respect, and clear indication of consequences for continued rebellion against imperial authority, outlined Tlacaelel during messaging coordination planning sessions. These communication approaches provided frameworks for political dialogue while maintaining clear expectations about territorial obligations and imperial authority that could encourage negotiated resolution of conflicts without appearing to reward rebellion or compromise essential administrative control. The coordinated response implementation required systematic integration of military, political, economic, and administrative measures that could address multiple dimensions of territorial rebellion, while maintaining operational effectiveness and imperial authority throughout complex crisis management and conflict resolution processes. Coordinated response protocols include selective military pressure targeting rebellion leadership while preserving opportunities for negotiated accommodation, economic adjustment measures addressing legitimate tributary concerns while maintaining fiscal requirements, and administrative reform implementation, demonstrating imperial responsiveness to regional needs. Detailed Tlacaelel during implementation planning coordination. This comprehensive approach provided systematic frameworks for rebellion resolution while balancing multiple strategic objectives, including territorial control, economic stability, political legitimacy, and administrative effectiveness through coordinated policy implementation. The precedent establishment considerations involved ensuring that rebellion responses established appropriate precedents for future territorial challenges while maintaining imperial authority and deterrent capability without encouraging additional regional defiance through excessive accommodation or inspiring fear through disproportionate military response. Precedent management requires demonstrating imperial willingness to address legitimate regional concerns while maintaining clear consequences for territorial defiance against imperial authority and administrative obligations, noted Tlacaelel during strategic planning discussions about long-term implications of current crisis responses and their effects on future territorial stability. This precedent awareness provided essential frameworks for strategic decision-making while ensuring that immediate crisis responses supported, rather than undermined, long-term imperial, territorial control. and administrative authority through appropriate balance of accommodation and deterrence. The resource allocation coordination involved managing financial, military, and administrative resources required for comprehensive rebellion response, while maintaining operational capacity for ongoing imperial functions, including frontier defense, routine administration, and territorial development activities. Resource allocation requires coordination between military deployment costs, administrative reform implementation expenses, economic adjustment provision funding, and maintenance of essential imperial operations, including frontier security and routine territorial administration. Calculated miluntica during fiscal coordination planning for comprehensive crisis response implementation. This resource management provided practical frameworks for crisis response while ensuring sustainable fiscal capacity for ongoing imperial operations and territorial administration through strategic allocation of available resources and capabilities. The regional partnership development involved building cooperative relationships with loyal territorial authorities, regional leaders supportive of imperial administration, and local communities whose collaboration was essential for sustainable territorial control and rebellion resolution through political accommodation rather than permanent military occupation. Regional partnership development includes collaboration with loyal territorial nobles who support imperial authority while respecting regional autonomy, cooperation with merchant communities whose economic interests align with imperial stability, and engagement with cultural leaders whose influence can encourage popular support for negotiated resolution, outlined Itzpapalotl during partnership coordination planning. These collaborative approaches provided sustainable foundations for territorial administration while building local support networks that could maintain imperial authority through regional cooperation rather than relying exclusively on military presence and administrative coercion. The monitoring and evaluation systems involved establishing procedures for tracking rebellion resolution progress, measuring territorial compliance with negotiated agreements, and identifying emerging challenges that might require additional intervention or administrative adjustment to maintain territorial stability. Monitoring systems include regular reporting on territorial compliance with tribute obligations and administrative directives, evaluation of regional satisfaction with negotiated accommodation measures, and early warning indicators for potential future territorial challenges or rebellion activities. Detailed Tlacaelel during evaluation system coordination planning. These monitoring capabilities provided ongoing assessment frameworks for territorial administration while enabling proactive response to emerging challenges and systematic improvement of imperial governance through continuous evaluation and adaptive management. The long-term stabilization strategies involved developing sustainable approaches to territorial administration that could prevent future rebellions while maintaining imperial authority through improved regional relationships, administrative responsiveness, and economic accommodation that addressed underlying sources of territorial dissatisfaction. Long-term stabilization requires systematic attention to regional economic capacity in tribute assessment, enhanced cultural respect in administrative implementation, improved communication between imperial administration and territorial populations, and ongoing evaluation of regional satisfaction with imperial governance. Recommended Tlacaelel during strategic planning discussions about sustainable territorial administration and rebellion prevention. These stabilization approaches provided comprehensive frameworks for territorial management while ensuring that rebellion resolution contributed to improved imperial governance rather than temporary crisis management that failed to address underlying sources of territorial instability. As afternoon emergency sessions concluded with preliminary agreements on coordinated response strategies and resource allocation frameworks, Tlacaelel reflected on the complex challenges the territorial rebellion presented for imperial administration. These provincial uprisings revealed fundamental tensions between central authority and regional autonomy, while testing administrative capability for managing diverse territorial relationships and political accommodation. The crisis administrators who managed territorial rebellion served as essential guardians of imperial unity, whose expertise enabled complex political negotiations while maintaining territorial control through strategic balance of military capability, economic accommodation, and administrative reform that served both imperial authority and regional welfare. Through careful attention to economic grievances, cultural sensitivities, political negotiation, and administrative reform, territorial crisis management created frameworks for imperial governance that could accommodate regional diversity while maintaining central authority through systematic attention to underlying sources of territorial dissatisfaction and strategic accommodation of legitimate regional concerns. The provincial rebellions of the Aztec Empire represented sophisticated challenges to imperial territorial administration that required complex political responses balancing central authority with regional autonomy through systematic attention to economic accommodation, cultural respect, and administrative reform serving both imperial unity and territorial welfare. The administrative solutions they developed became foundations of sustainable territorial governance that demonstrated how sophisticated political institutions could manage regional diversity while maintaining imperial authority through strategic accommodation and systematic administrative reform, serving both central control and provincial autonomy through effective territorial management. Imperial territorial administration served as cornerstone of political stability that connected central authority with regional governance while maintaining territorial unity through systematic attention to provincial concerns and strategic accommodation of regional autonomy within imperial political frameworks, serving both imperial strength and territorial welfare through effective crisis management and administrative reform. The territorial challenges they resolved became models for imperial governance that balanced central control with regional accommodation while demonstrating that authentic imperial authority required not merely military dominance but sophisticated political management, achieving territorial stability through systematic attention to regional concerns and strategic accommodation of provincial autonomy within unified imperial administration.